with a couple of things for you guys to know, and then if we see some more come in, we'll be good. This should be probably the shortest you guys have ever heard me. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to try to keep it real tight because I know you're all busy and it's Friday, and I suspect it's been a really long week for everybody. I will be more than willing to take any and all questions at the end. Lynn actually showed me the raise hand function yesterday, so we're going to try to use that. I've got Amy Colrick with me, my project manager. So when we get to the end, if you have questions, we'll do the hand raise and she'll unmute you. If you have a burning question you don't want to forget, just put it into chat and Amy will give it to me at the end. But like I said, I will hang as long as you guys have some questions toward the end. So here we go. I think we're good. And we will send the PowerPoint to you. And we will also post the webinar. So you will have access to it if you want to share it with others or do some other things. Let's see. Now let me get my screen to move. There we go. So what we want to talk about today is just some of the things that we have really seen change in digital usage, because things have changed. And they've been changing, it seems like, every week, and maybe just some lessons we learned that I think are going to continue forward in some way, shape, or form. And then I want to really talk about what the challenges are for fall. And I want to talk about each of those audiences, because we've had the privilege of doing some online virtual focus groups. And you think doing a high school focus group is hard enough, try doing it virtually. It's real interesting sometimes. But we got some great feedback, and there's a little shifting in messaging from when we did the webinar for NCMPR. So we just wanted to share that with you guys sort of as food for thought. And we have some new product updates, and I'm going to touch on those real quick, but I think you're going to be really excited about one of them that literally just happened yesterday afternoon. So I hope all of you are surviving Camp COVID. I don't remember what marketing director called it that, but in all honesty, it has felt like Camp COVID. For those of you that know me, I live on 1,500 acres, and I've been practicing social distancing the 36 years my husband and I have been married. So for us, a lot hasn't changed, but I know for many people that it has. So let's talk about really what media has changed and the successes. One of the things we're continuing to hear from almost all of our clients across the board, with a few exceptions, is that summer is up or summer is flat, but summer is, quote, a success in terms of what happened and who we got. The thing we've been hearing about summer, though, is we didn't see as many of our current students enrolling in summer. We've had feedback from a lot of our clients that we had the university group coming, and I know we were hard hitting them with a lot of schools. We've had new students come in for summer. And the other anomaly, or the thing that was different about this summer, is our FTE tends to be more. It looks like folks were taking more classes, but likely it's because there was nothing else to do. If you stop and think about, there's no sports, no activities, no swimming pools, all of those kind of things have sort of dried up for us at this point in time. So this was some of the most recent data in that March timeframe, February, March, of what really happened. And web browsing is up 70%. And so as you think about that, your search is so important, your Google AdWords search, all the other, because everybody is browsing and looking for everything. Traditional TV is up. And what they're saying about the traditional TV is we're turning to that for news, for information. I looked at the major searches on the web browsing, and it was all COVID related. And right behind it was educational searches about how do I teach? How do I do things in terms of that suddenly everybody was being homeschooled, if you think of it from that perspective. Social media is up 61% in that time frame, and streaming TV is up about 16%. So as we look at this, I ran across these graphics and I just love them because I think it really points out the differences with respect to how individuals, and especially our target markets, how what they were doing changed. So this was a survey from Global Web, and it's broken down into generations. So Gen Z is that 16 to 23-year-old that we want to get our hands on more than anything. And the big change, if you look at that yellow area in the middle, it's showing you graphically the big change is the points going out. So 51% were doing more online videos than they had been doing previously before the outbreak. The other big area was online TV streaming. We're not surprised by that, but also music streaming jumped about 28%, and online press in terms of the news and stuff for this group about 21, but also broadcast TV jumped about 24%, and then video games jumped 31% for this group. So the big one has been online videos. And I know that we've been talking to a lot of you about video is so important right now. And even if you can't find video, there is a function, and I can put it in an email to you, that my communications manager found, that I can take multiple straight slides and turn it into an MP4. And so even if you don't have good video, really think about video right now with this Gen Z group. The millennials, 24 to 37-year-olds, look at their change, 44% to online videos. And some of that online video with the millennial group, as we were looking at them, is the how-tos. And the how to do your own haircut was one of the leaders. I think some people had a lot of success with that, but we saw some folks who had maybe not some so good successes with their own haircut. My husband told me to stay away from him completely. Don't touch him. Not sure if you guys had that experience. Online streaming really went up 41%, online TV streaming for this group, and online press went up 36%. Even broadcast TV went up. And in this group, although they were consuming, they're just consuming more of the online video, online TV, and broadcast TV. And I think somebody last night, I was watching public broadcasting, and on their thing, they were talking with a young woman, and she said, well, I used to have activities after work. I used to do things after work. Now I'm home. The only thing I'm doing is watching something because I have nothing else to do. So that we think is part of this, because this millennial group usually was very active and not in the home as much. So we've been able to get our hands on them. Live stream, if you look at books and literature, there's sort of no one's reading my good Stephen King books, I don't think, except me. When we looked at Gen X, that's at 38 to 56. So this is getting to the top end of your credit market. I mean, that usually that 38 to 40 is about our cut. You'll see that Gen X increased their TV viewing, the broadcast TV, way more, 45%, than even online videos, than online TV streaming. And they increased, but you didn't see the larger increases like you did visually with that Gen Z and that millennial group. So in truth, for us, this is a group that I'm not going to have a lot of success with in terms of coming in for credit. And it's good. I mean, I'm glad they did this, but the bottom line is Gen Z and the millennials are really the ones I want to get my hands on for potential students. And that gives me a great opportunity to do visually. I added this one because it's actually funny. The boomer market, which I'm a part of, the 57 to 64-year-olds, really the only thing they did was watch a little more TV. So if you're trying to keep that continuing ed group or those folks that might talk to you later, it looks sort of sad because the purple is so tiny compared to all the changes with the other groups. So really, boomers didn't really change a lot of what they were doing after COVID. But the other two, Gen Z and the millennials, really had the major changes. We saw, remember the social media was up so much? Well, whether it's good or bad, about 25% of internet users across the US report getting their news from social media. Fake or good, that's where they're turning. Facebook, their messenger service increased a huge amount, and also the stories connecting with family and friends. Instagram story usage jumped in that time frame about 15%, and Snapchat actually gained 11 million daily active users. I can't hardly wrap my head around that number in the first quarter of 2020, up 20% over last year. And the users are spending way more time playing around with the Snapchat lenses. And so they're creating things, playing with the lenses and doing those kind of pieces. YouTube and TikTok were the ones that really blew up when you looked at what they were using in terms of watching videos, using TikTok. TikTok added over 12 million unique visitors in March in the US. And there's a pocket of folks who are basically, they say, bringing their inner creative out by developing videos. And I don't know if you saw the dad that turns into a monkey whenever somebody says one certain word, but there are multiple things. And TikTok, I don't know right now, it's overshadowing, if you would, even some of the other social media, especially with our market. And it's going into that late 20, 30-year-old group, not just that young group. We're seeing it across on TikTok. 42%, percent spent more time socializing virtually as a family or household. And I don't know about you guys, but I've talked more to my late 20-year-old daughters on our 4 o'clock Friday evening happy hour than I actually was talking to them prior to COVID. And 32% just physically spent more time on social media. So as we look at those things and we think about them, we need to think about, as we do our fall, some of those habits will continue until we're completely opened up. And the issue is every one of you is in a different situation about opening. In online streaming, we had major increases in connected device usage, major increases in the game console usage. We had 53% more watching shows and films on streaming services and people adding new streaming services. 80% watching more video-based content. So the broadcast TV, online videos, anything with video. So really the major component here is we do a lot of digital advertising, but that video piece, we're seeing great results coming back from it. So really keep in mind that any way we can do a 30-second video, even, and you'll see quite a few of them that are just 5 slides over a time frame, is extremely useful for that messaging. So if we really look at, I laughed and said, this will probably be my daughter and son-in-law when they have children, because they are germ freaks. But in terms of summer, we saw enrollment success. Addressable geofencing was working beautifully. We were able to get lists of those targeted audiences, hit those households. The social media audiences we were right in front of. And the CTV OTT, I think, really positioned you. Some of you guys did some phenomenal videos on CTV and OTT, and you hit exactly what people were asking for. You shared with them your concerns and what you were doing to keep students safe and do the other pieces. And that was right on the money. You guys did a phenomenal job. We still need to think about CTV because it gives us a platform as we move into fall to really try to convince some of those influencers that we're going to need working on some of the students as we kick forward. So let's talk about fall. I'm not sure we're going to see a lot of campuses looking like this picture come fall. We are all over the board in terms of what's going on in fall. And one of the things that we did in early April, we did some focus groups with some current students and high school students that gave us some insight into that really first conversation we had on the NCMPR webinar about messaging. And we just did some in late May, trying to see if what we had learned had changed, but we also ended up with a group of high school juniors, and in one of our groups, we also talked to some seniors and current students. So based on what they told us, what I'm going to talk about through the rest of this is basically, let me share what they said and the impact on fall messaging. And you guys be thinking about it, because some of our thoughts, I think we need to drill in a little bit different way. What we're hearing from all of you, a lot of you, is that fall enrollments are currently down anywhere from 25, I've heard, down to 45%. We have some flat. Here's the factors that we're seeing impact fall, and truthfully, there's not a thing any of you as marketing directors can do because it's all based on administration. If your administration has not formally said, this is what we're doing, we're seeing those huge, I'm not enrolling yet numbers. We're getting that feedback from recruiters telling administration that our students are lining up, but they're not signing up until they know what you're doing. The thing that we heard from the students when we did the focus group is they're not willing to commit at this point till they know, am I going to be on campus? Am I going to be completely online? Am I going to be, what in fact am I going to do? And that's going to impact it. And here's some of the things that we heard from them. Several of them talked about they don't want to go completely online. If it's all online, then some of them are very hesitant about signing up. And the big chunk of that about the online was whether they had a positive or negative experience in the spring. And fortunate or not, we ended up talking to people who had a positive experience, and we had students who had a negative experience. And when they had a positive experience, they described it this way. They said, you know, we were scared. We were concerned about trying to move completely online, but we knew our faculty. We had met them. We had interacted with them. And the ones who were extremely supportive, so faculty was there constantly. They were doing a consistent time Zooming with them. They were doing individual Zooms. The school had tutoring services and all kinds of other support services. Those students are saying, you know, it really turned out okay. And I figured out I could actually do something that I didn't realize I could do. And you'll see it a little bit, but adaptable was a word that they used. For others, they said it wasn't great. And if I have the same kind of experience where an instructor posts one recorded lecture online, never to be seen or heard from during the week, and I can't get a hold of them and they're not answering my emails and I can't talk to them, I'm not going. I'm not signing up for this experience again. And so I think you need to stop and think about how smooth was that spring transition at your institution. And in some, you may need to have if it was a little rocky, you may need to have the president in a video on CTV that you drop into the current students' houses, basically saying, you know what, we know that wasn't great, but you know what, we have been working on this and we are going to have a much better online experience in the fall. You know, one institution had shared they had sent faculty back to class. I think it's extremely important to reinforce that because some of the students, they're very hesitant. Now, if you're completely opening back up with seats, I think you'll alleviate some of that. Or if you're moving to a hybrid, focusing on at least you'll interact personally with your faculty in some way, shape, or form is going to be an important piece. But the problem is, from a marketing standpoint, until your administration makes a decision, I don't think you're going to move that needle. But the minute they make it, you need to move hard and heavy with all of those current students, those dual enroll, those high school, because the adults, as we're going to talk about, is going to be the biggest problem I think we're going to have, to be absolutely honest with you. The other issue that we've been seeing is I don't know how to say this, but there have been some administrations just be more interested in budget cuts and they're cutting marketing dollars in the middle of this. And what we're seeing is those institutions, their summer enrollment wasn't even flat. And so we really need to be aggressive and out front for a lot of our institutions. I know budget cuts are a problem. I know we're going to have them. I know travel budgets are gone and we're going to have other major problems. But if we don't have at least the tuition coming back to us, that's going to be a problem too. And a couple of schools have very creatively worked with the recruiters and said, hey, your travel budget is sitting there. Let's use it. If we can get it away from our finance guy, let's use it for marketing because I can't use those funds in another way. So the administration's attitude toward marketing and funding it, and the ones truthfully who have seen the best results have been the extremely aggressive institutions that were aggressive the minute the shutdown started. And then the other big factor in there that we have no control over, but we need to be able and ready to move, is the 4 years are putting off what they're going to do. I'm beginning to think it's going to probably be September 1 before some of the 4 years announce what they're doing. The reality is the students have told us in the focus groups, and we had some opportunity to talk to some who had friends who were going to other institutions, but if it's only online, then I think we have a big chance on picking up those students. If the campuses, if it goes back to on campus or even a modified on campus, I suspect they'll go ahead with their plans. That's what we're hearing from them right now. So until we know what the 4 year is doing, that piece of messaging is really up in the air for us at this point. So let's talk about what we do know in terms of the current students and those key audiences. the current students, the experience in the spring, like we talked about, is going to determine if they're going to go only online. And if we did have that not so great experience, I think you really do need to hit those students with a message that we're doing better and things are going to be better and how we do it's going to be better. I know one college noted they had 100 faculty members that took classes to improve online teaching. I think those things are very important. The other part, though, that is a little bit scary, some of the students said if it's all online, then I'll probably just try to find a job and work online in, which, yeah, I saw Lynn's face on that one. That scares me because online and full-time job is extremely difficult for our students, and we already know that. Part-time, I know they do it, but think about that. Just the whole part about online, if you have any way to even have them on campus to meet faculty, I think is important. The other thing is they really said they were scared across the board. Current students, high school students, everybody said when they moved to online, we went, and said bang. But they found out they could do it. They learned they could do it, and they did it pretty well. The students did, and they worked it in. And so things like you've got this, you survived spring, you're adaptable, that was their word. They were adaptable. They actually learned something about themselves because none of them that we were talking to were taking online courses. And that younger audience, the ones that are the dual enroll through our 21 and younger, they don't like online. And if you begin to think about it, most of the high school students coming in aren't going to have ever had an online class experience until the spring. So any way to say, hey, you got this, you did it, you did well. They want seat classes, but the other interesting thing that came out of those groups is because they had success in online, and we had a couple of kids, one did an A&P class, finished it out online, and one finished a calculus class out online. And I'm like, man, good for you, because that kind of transition could really throw you. But now what they've said is online's really not that bad. And these are the students that had that good experience. They're actually going to now look for online classes like on Rate My Professor as to who the best online faculty are and make sure they get those folks to teach them to take some of the class load off. So if you think about that old thing we used to do, don't get stuck with the leftovers, the 8 o'clock anatomy, you may be able to sort of switch that to go ahead and register now and get those really great faculty that have those really good ratings. Now, you guys, I am not the message person, never will be. You can make whatever I just said sound really good with a few words, I know. But think about it from that perspective. The other thing students were concerned about, current students and high school students, is about the entire registration, the technical support. You still have in some of your markets folks who have a lot of technical problems, even uploading papers because of the area that they live, the internet access, and some of those components. And I really think this exposed the US to we really don't have great internet everywhere. And so some of them were very concerned about that, even the seeing advisor trying to connect by Zoom to an advisor. So continuing that message of we're supporting you, we have your back, we're gonna continue to make sure you have those services, even if we can't be completely sitting across the desk from each other. And the other thing that was really cool was a majority of them said their career plans haven't changed at all because of COVID. But the ones who were majoring in help, in criminal justice, and some of those areas, they were more adamant about finishing and getting their degrees done and getting a job because they wanted to help. So any of those kind of occupations that we know people go into because they want to help, there was a real disagreement about the concept of be essential. For some people, be essential means I'm on the front line, I'm helping, I'm saving lives, and it's a real positive. For other people, be essential meant I'm still stuck in McDonald's kitchen and I'm still stuck in the Amazon distribution center, or I'm still stuck bringing your groceries to your car. So you need to think about that kind of messaging depending on who we're actually talking to about those program areas. But the big one was this whole concept of just keep moving forward, because COVID can't stop me, and it'll just get me closer to where I want to be. So the other thing, some strategies, things to think about, continue for current students, continue to use social media campaigns. And the other thing, this is a real opportunity to use social media advertising to grow your social media following on your organic sites. For a lot, we suddenly realized that all of our students are not following us. So we want to generate as many followers. One did a really cool virtual scavenger hunt, and they were seeing 10 and 20% increases among current students following them during that scavenger hunt. It was a virtual campus scavenger hunt. So any of those kind of things you can think about doing. The addressable geofencing is perfect because we can drill down to the houses. And the same thing, don't forget about your stop outs. The ones that were there a year or two ago that something happened, they may actually be in a situation now that they can come back and finish. And it's that return to earn. It's that finish what you started, better career, better life. They may have been some of the folks sitting in the kitchens at McDonald's, excuse me, that may not want to be there next time, or if this thing happens again or something similar to it. So again, we can use a stop out list for addressable geofencing, Facebook, Snapchat, custom audiences to drill down to all of those individuals. The high school seniors, the 2020 graduates, bless their heart. You can tell I just got back from Louisiana, but they are the group, they're concerned about the future. They feel out of control. A lot of them are scared of online. When we started talking to the juniors and some of even the seniors, they haven't dealt with a lot of online courses, and they haven't had that experience. If they were dual enrolled students in some of your institutions, they probably had some kind of online class experience, especially if you had a pretty broad service area. But they don't know what they're walking into. And if you're looking at a completely online schedule, we need to be telling them that they can do this, and even using maybe some current dual enrolled students who have taken online classes, that's their peers, a quick video talking about, you know, we'd rather be on campus, but we made it, we can do this, here's what you need to do. I think we're going to have to give them some reinforcement and support. And it was interesting for the high school students that we talked to who were, when they said go home, they made a real interesting comment. They said, you know, my high school classes was a piece of cake. Man, that college class online took a little bit of time and effort. And that's the part that the incoming 2020 grads aren't going to have a lot of experience with. So we really need to think about that. And the other thing they're concerned about is I won't even get to meet my faculty. They're just going to be a face somewhere. So if you're doing hybrids, that I think is the way to talk about. You're still going to have that faculty support and interaction, some of those components. The other thing we heard from them, I don't know if there's much we can do this summer, but they were really bummed out because a lot of these grads were doing, quote, campus visits in the spring, and that got canned. And they didn't get to a campus visit. And I hate to say this, if we're competing with a four-year, sometimes they will visit us, and some of your campuses will seal the deal with those students. So I don't know if there's any way for some of you, depending on your state and what's happening, if you could actually do some socially distanced on-campus tours this summer and let them see that institution and let them know what they're looking at. So some of the messaging with these folks, you know, you've got it, you survived online, if it's your dual enroll students, the adaptable again. But I think we're going to have to be really more support with these 2020 graduates. The other thing that was very interesting for both the high school students and the juniors, and I honestly had not thought about it, we all know the rites of passage was canceled, the drive-through graduations, and everybody tried to make the best of it, the prom, etc. But what we really found, and I think this is impacting it, and if we take it a step further, I think it's something we can use. A lot of these high school students assume the role of teacher and supervisor for siblings. Many of them were babysitting essential personnel's children because daycares were closed. They had their own homework, and several of these kids are our typical community college student. They were working a job or two part-time, like fast food and Walmart, and they were buried. It's not like they were sitting on the couch playing video games all day. A lot of these students, and if their parents were still working, and especially if they were central personnel, a lot of the childcare, the education, those components fell to these students. And they were even doing teaching for neighbors' children. So if you think about it, if COVID reoccurs in the fall, they're going to be needed at home again. And that may be a key message that we can twist in a way, especially to parents, saying if we're really unsure about this, maybe close is better. And that's a fluid situation. It goes up and down. I guess we're spiking again, is what I saw last on the news, depending on who you listen to. So keep that in mind, because these students are going to be needed if we have to go stay in place again. I call it going to jail. It's just easier. So anyway, these kids, though, they want to continue their educational plans, but several of them did say, I may just work full time if it's completely online and make it work. So the don't delay, your future's now, your future's closer than you think, those kinds of things that we really want to talk to them about. But here was the one that was across the board, and I almost started laughing. Juniors, seniors, and some of the college students were saying their mothers want them to stay home, to stay close, to be safe, and go to the local community college. And that's where mom's at. Their fathers, and it was so funny, were saying, just go, don't worry about it, leave. Now, we do know fathers are more concerned about financial, typically, when we do messaging for them. So I think this is the spot that we have to hit. And I think we have to really hit the moms in a way that they reinforce that, because I think mom's going to win this battle, to be absolutely honest, if mom and dad are in disagreement about what they should do. The kids want to leave. Let's be honest. All the kids want to go. But they're also interesting because some of them understand that they don't want to spend $50,000 to do online classes at home. So that's the other piece of what we are trying to deal with, and why we need to know what the universities are going to do. So some things to think about. Celebration campaigns to do the celebrate graduation. One college paired with a high school to do photos during local news commercials. I'm not averse to traditional media. Use whatever you can. They rotated photos of graduates during the local news in partnership, community college and one of the stations in a high school. Social media campaigns, congratulating them and really playing with the lens. There's some great ways to do that. I've got a little example for you later. Enrollment campaigns, I think CTV done really well, aimed at mom, to be absolutely honest. And if you have the right college president saying, I'm concerned about your child, I want to keep them close and safe, we don't know what the future is going to bring, that kind of reassuring, put them in our hands, we'll take care of them kind of message. And then we can hit all those high school graduates' homes with addressable geofencing, but think about splitting the ads. And you could even split it 3 ways, to be absolutely honest. You can split mom off because of age and female. You can split dad off with a target of age and male. And you can split the kids off with an age under 21, etc. So you can actually deliver 3 different ads directly to each individual, hitting them on their hot spots by that addressable geofencing at that time. But I think we need to play on mom. I'm probably a bad mom. I would probably be saying leave. But we live in a tiny place and my daughters would have left anyway, I suspect. And I think you need to put more emphasis on the dual enrolled students right now. Two things happen with your dual enrolled. If you're doing major academic transfer, your dual enroll conversion is usually low. And that's okay because they're bound to a 4-year. But this year, I think you have an opportunity to hit that dual enrolled academic transfer group really hard and hit mom really hard. And you can do that with addressable geofencing of those dual enrollment students' households about, you've already got credits here, stay another year, survive this thing at home for right now. That's the kind of messaging I think you should think about, because I think we have an opportunity with a bigger chunk of that group to keep them than we typically would if we moved forward. And the students were saying some of that. The students really do want to leave, and who can blame them? The whole year has been a crazy year across the board. the other audience, university students, we hit them hard, and I think we had successes with them for summer enrollment. The interesting part about them, we got some insights because some of the students that we were talking with were talking about their friends that were at the university. And a lot of the students have said that if it's all online and I can't get the campus experience, then I'm just going to stay here and take transfer. And I love the quote. This kid actually did have a friend who was a freshman at Harvard this spring. And the kid said, why am I going to pay Harvard prices for University of Phoenix education? And people do believe online's almost a commodity, if you stop and think about it, that one's as good as another. So the whole set of transfer agreements you have, the guaranteed transfers, the pathways, the cost savings, you're still moving, you're still not stopping, but that's where we can hit them hard if we know what the major universities that they typically go to are going to do. So that's why as soon as we know, I think that university group and that dual enrolled group, both of those are ones that once we know what universities are doing, we can hit hard. But even the moms are split. I don't want you to go back to school. I don't want you to have to do an apartment. I don't want to have to go get you in the middle of the semester again because it's cumbersome. Again, the fathers are telling them just go, don't worry about it. And so keep moving forward, stay close, you know, don't put your plans on hold, but just stay close for the time being. So think about keeping abreast of the 4 years, what they're going to do. We can do addressable geofencing on all those students like we've been doing, like we hit them for summer, but the messaging really needs to change. But the timing on the messaging, I think, is also important in terms of when we know what's happening. Facebook, Snapchat, custom audiences for that. We can do that also with special college affiliations to pick up any on the fringes. So another market for us, but I think that one's going to be dicey. Here's the reality. The adults are just going to be a pain in the backside to get our hands on. I just saw a notice from Wyoming that they've now extended unemployment with the COVID additional payments for 39 weeks. Think about what 39 weeks means. If the jobs do not come back quickly, that's an issue. The problem we're having right now, and we're not seeing some of that adult market, is that with that additional COVID-19 payment of $600 a week on the normal unemployment benefit, they're making more money staying at home than they were working. And the problem is going to be when the benefits run out, they'll get a lot more interested. If we're extending benefits for 30 to 40 weeks, we're into next spring if I do my math right. So it's going to be, I think, very hard to look at really generating a lot of interest until we know exactly what the benefit situation for the unemployed and how many employers are calling back. And we had a good month last year. It was positive in terms of people being called back, but we also have a lot of employers saying, I'm calling and they're not coming. And so I think it's going to be really tough. It's that piece of maybe it's new job, better job, and the ones that we're talking to may or more likely to probably be the ones who have been employed in a job they don't like. More money, you can make more money, better job, COVID proof it if you're in one of those essential jobs that's not great. So that be essential in a different way, go into healthcare, go into other jobs you could. And I think even the work from home, because we've heard from a lot of folks, well, I wish I could have. I'm still having to go, I'm still having to do things. I think it really goes back into where people were employed. So if you think about lower educational work or levels who were essential employees in low pay jobs, distribution centers, drivers, food service, stockers, all of those folks, they would have preferred to stay home and do work, but they couldn't. And they were out in it. And that was a be essential that wasn't as much of a positive. They're interested in a better job, better career, and a lot of that group would like to be home next time. I'd like to have a job that I could do what we're doing right now. So a new career, a new future, you can bring your workforce training concept into this, some of your workforce opportunities. You got this many majors, maybe things like virus proof and recession proof your job. Because we do have jobs that are steady. And so think about what programs could we offer these folks that would get them in a better spot. And a lot of us, the workforce development piece may also have some opportunities that could do that. The other thing is, prior to COVID-19, adults needed to borrow. Adults only would come if they had the money, and they refused to go into debt. But we've got funding through unemployment, we got funding through COVID, we have financial aid available. I think you really need to hit hard that if you had any interest and money was stopping you, now's the time for you to move ahead with that. Financial aid workshops, anything in terms of, we can help you take that financial burden off of you right now. And then there may be a market among the groups that may be struggling with technology like Zoom and other tools, but have a real interest in working remotely. And so learn remote work skills, certifications, credentials, health information technology comes to mind with this because I can do it from home. What are the things that would put me in a different kind of remote worker situation that you have to offer? Because I really think with this group, we're going to be talking about program marketing. We can get lists of people's households by targeted employment. So what jobs they're in, we can get. So we can get lists of people who work at distribution centers and in food service and those kind of places. We're starting to see a little bit of geofencing, but it's still going to be dicey. I think it's easier to find that worker group that we know is impacted and hit them at home than trying to put those geofences out at this point in time. Unemployment website conquesting to absolutely stay in front of anyone who's receiving any benefits anywhere. The non-credit enrollment list, I think you should be looking at, because some of the folks who came in and took a quick skill set may want to look at, especially if they are now unemployed, may want to look at moving ahead in a career area. So you can match the kind of programming they took in non-credit with some of your credit programming and possibly hit some of them for opportunities. I think program marketing for the nursing and some of the other kinds is important. And then you need to ramp up search. And we talked about that because we had such a large number in terms of search. Everybody has increased search, so it's so much easier to grab them. And then one last quick group to think about is the class of 21. And these are those high school juniors, going to be seniors. And the big chunk of what we heard from them is their parents are going to help determine what they do. So if you can ramp up any visits for juniors in the fall, any way to get them online, especially if your 4 years are completely, if you can get them on campus, especially if all the 4 years are online, start working on them now. Social media campaigns, digital advertising, don't forget about them. Don't wait till spring to really start to talk to that class of 21 and really start to talk to their parents now to keep that idea in front of them. That's a really good thing. Okay, 3 quick things and then we'll go to questions. If anybody needs any early billing before the end of June, let us know. Let us get that in for you. And if you're starting campaigns at that July 1 kind of time frame with the 4th of July in there, see if you can get ads to us around the 25th. It'll just make life easier for all of us. And if you would like, we now have Snapchat Lens campaigns, which basically, this is actually Allison who works for us. I couldn't hold my camera steady enough to take it, but you have a snap code that if you click it, your face, it reads your face. It was so much fun, I did it. It reads your face picture, and then it puts class of 2020 on you. And so any of these kind of lens campaigns, because remember, we saw them really pop up and a lot more use with lens. But here's the cool one. Drum roll, please. Does anybody recognize that? We can place ads on TikTok now. So we're excited. I don't know about you guys. We're trying to get our processes and procedures in place, but yes, we can advertise on TikTok. We were doing the happy dance yesterday. We literally found out last night. We're working on the parameters of it, and we'll get you guys, if you're interested, we'd love to have a couple of test cases, but we'll get you parameters for ads, the details as we come through, but we were so excited. We just had to share that today. So Amy, let's go to questions if we have any.
I don't have any in through the chat, so if anybody has any questions, if you want to raise your hand, we'll unmute you. And
no questions? Oh, we have a chat.
oh, we do have a chat. We do have a question asking, how did the virtual scavenger hunt work?
What they did is they took pictures across different places on campus, just like if you would actually go put something behind a certain statue, then they would give you clues about the physical location, and that's how they did the scavenger hunt. Does that make sense? And you can unmute Julie if you want.
Let's see here.
Hey there, I muted myself. Hopefully my dogs won't bark in the background.
Hey, nobody cares. This
Nobody
is Camp COVID, you know?
I know, yeah. So are you saying that, I mean, so the college would put out a challenge for, I still don't understand the scavenger work thing, how that works.
Okay, so basically a scavenger hunt is you get clues about where they hide something.
Okay.
And if you were on campus, they would give you clues, and then you would roam around to look and see if you could find it.
Right.
So what they basically did is they gave you online clues, and people gave them answers back, and they apparently had a huge success out of that thing. I thought it was a brilliant idea.
Huh. Do you remember which college did that?
Yes, I can get your name. Let me make sure they're okay talking to you.
Okay, okay.
Hey, Kathy.
Yeah.
Hey, I got a quick question. Our president has given us a pot of money to create a scholarship, basically for enrollment purposes, to try to increase enrollment. Which one of these markets do you think would be the best use of this scholarship? Would it be the adults, because you mentioned something about money, you know, we could say we have the money for you, or would it be stop outs, or would it be the, you know, the other markets you talked about?
Some institutions have used money like that to do a take one, get one free.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
And usually they have targeted that to a new enrollee. Okay. So in my mind, that would be those dual enrolls that might go somewhere else, because if I get my hands on them, it might be new high school graduates that would have never thought about you, but with COVID and money, mm-hmm. they might. I'm just, you know, I'm worried about the adult piece, because I'm not sure money's even going to budge them till unemployment goes.
Exactly.
That's
yeah, we thought about the CCP to degree folks. Mm-hmm. And we also talked about maybe folks that might have lost their job, and they're, you know, in the 21-year-old, you know, the 22-year-old market, you know, right out of, you know, high school. And we're also looking maybe at underrepresented populations and kind of looking at that criteria. But right. So you're looking more at the newly graduated market, the 18-year-old.
Yeah, and depending on your market share, there's a chunk of them, and depending on, you have a large chunk who goes on to 40 Correct. That does not come to you. Mm-hmm. So that I would try to steal as many of those as I could. Okay. To be honest. And then Rob said, did they offer any incentives on the scavenger hunt? No, because everyone was so bored. It was just fun. I think there was a final winner, but no, I don't think they did. Everyone just engaged in it. Sarah asked, will you need a TikTok account to advertise on TikTok? Nope. Will not. With TikTok, there's going to be a pretty large minimum spend. And so I suspect we're going to have to do it like we did in the early days with Pandora and some of the others. We'll have to have 2 or 3 folks that we build campaigns jointly, because the minimum spend's pretty good. Other questions?
What are the ads going to look like on TikTok? Is it going to be some kind of, should it be some kind of zany video to fit in with the flavor of TikTok?
I have a picture of it, but I haven't looked at it enough to even at this point know. We're getting our act together because literally we found out last night.
I got you. Okay.
And we'll give you parameters on it because there's a special thing in there you can do with hashtags, but I think the minimum spend on that's 100,000. So I'm not sure we're going to be doing the hashtag part, but we're going to get nailed down exactly because we actually have a rep. Yay! And then we'll get that to you probably middle of next week, as soon as we can get that. Because I think that's huge, to be honest. We've got so many people on TikTok right now. Other questions?
As far as rural areas go, you said you could pull employment, you could pull people by their current employment. So, for example, that would be very helpful for us because we're starting a hybrid LPN to ADN program, which is licensed practical nurse to associate degree nursing.
Right.
So you're saying you can pull lists of nurses who are current LPNs?
Oh yeah, nurses are easy. CNAs, all of those.
Okay.
Yeah, we've been using those with others, even before COVID.
Okay. What about somebody that's in welding, that's a welder who we're offering more specialized welding classes. Can you drill down like that for?
We'll need to run the numbers and see what the counts look like.
Okay.
But it has categories. I mean, it has occupational categories is what we can pull. And so we can look at that. Is that you, Julie?
Yes, this is me.
Okay. Yeah. We'll, I'll tell Allison's probably on here and she's probably taking notes. So.
Okay. Hey, Allison, if you're on here. I was just curious, you guys are using Zoom today. See, I had to sign in as my personal account because our college doesn't allow us to use Zoom because of some security issues. So that's why you see a picture of me and my kid. But so I was just curious, what are you guys hearing about Zoom?
Well, I've got some schools that's all they use. And I've got others that aren't using it. So I think it's the password piece. Most schools that are using it are really dicey with the password. There's nothing here. Even if someone hooked into our meeting, there's very little they're really going to be interested in, I suspect.
Well, I guess the way I understood it was people were crashing people's meetings and drawing ugly things. So
we fortunately, as much as we use it, and I feel like I'm on Zoom all day long, we haven't had any of those problems with it. So any other questions, guys? Either unmute yourself or type something. I tried really hard to stay within an hour. I think I did well this time. Okay, we're good. Thank you, guys. I hope you picked up something. If you need something, let us know. We're there. Your digital managers are there, and I'm excited. We'll get you some stuff really quick about TikTok and see what we can put together. Thanks, guys.